Hey, it's Joe Crump. This video I'm going to explain the leads dashboard interface. All of these on your right here are your leads. And this is a quick dashboard to kind of get a feel for what the lead has and a bunch of information about the lead. And you can get more information about the lead by clicking on their name. If there's no name in it, and if it's a text the text response that came in from the voice or from the auto marketer, there's not going to be a name on here until you enter it, which you could do quickly by clicking on this little arrow here and put in first name and last name, or you can click on add name and it'll open up the full lead page, which has a lot of other information I'll get into later. Also, you'll notice once I clicked on that, it went to a white color rather than a yellow color. So the yellow shows that it hasn't been read yet, just like your email, to give you a feel for which ones haven't been looked at and which ones have. It also shows you that it was a text blast that was created on this date at this time, and then another message came in, or it was updated, or you changed it, or one of those things happened on that date, and that's the last time that it got updated. This is the phone number of that lead. If you click on this phone number, this little doodad will open up and it'll start dialing this phone number. I don't want to do it because I don't want to dial these people, but you can also dial in manually, and you can dial it from whichever phone number you want. So if you have multiple phone numbers, let's say that this one is in Indiana, and you want to call them from your Indiana phone number, and another lead down here is from California with a 213 area code, and you want to pick, you can go out and buy on your phone system, you can buy a 213 area code. I could pick and call from that number so that when the seller gets my call, it'll be coming in from that area code, and it'll look like, the caller ID will show that I'm a local, or show that I'm a local to that place. So that's one thing that we can do. Now, also, I can schedule a call. If I'm talking to these people, I can schedule the next call with them, a next appointment with them. And let's say I want to call them on Friday at 4 o'clock and then property address. I'll put it in there. And then I can save that, and it'll put it in here as a scheduled call. I can also view the leads detail about this particular property. It'll take me back to the full leads sheet for that specific property. The other things that I have on here is it shows that it's a seller, and I can change that from seller to buyer simply by going to the full leads sheet if I have, or I can make it seller and buyer if I have that. This is going to show the last received message from these people. It's going to show that it came in from this text number, and the message, all our homes are rent to own, and then their phone number. It also has the tags that we've placed on these properties. This shows that it came in from an auto marketer text blast, and you can create as many tags as you want for your leads, so you can classify them in different ways. But this will show you what tags they are currently in. Also, you can click on these button here, and this is, you can assign them new campaigns. A tag is different than a campaign. A campaign is a series of events that's happening, and this person is in a 3-month sequence that they're getting emails on. So they're going to continue to get, texts. They're going to get 3 months worth of texts, and they're going to continue to get those. If I want to add additional campaigns, I can do that. If I want to consider this to be a yes, maybe, I can add yes, maybe, and it'll start sending them the yes, maybe campaign series in addition to the auto marketer series. And I can save that, and it will continue to put them on that campaign. I can also add properties. If I click on this button, it shows we don't have any properties on them yet. So I can add a property. And when I do that, it opens up first to name it. And then it'll open up the lead questionnaire. And I'll talk about this lead questionnaire in another video, but it's a way that we can ask them questions about their property, get all the details, and determine what kind of deal we want to do on this property. After you save it, it's going to turn, this little house thing is going to turn green, and it's going to show that there is a property here, and you can see the test property is there. If I click on that, it'll take me back to the one that's already open, so you can always go back and refer to it, and you can give them multiple properties if I want to. So I can give her test 2. And if I go back, now I can see that there are 2 properties here. Sometimes you get an investor that has multiple properties that you want to deal with. The next button here is the leads add. So this will show you where the lead came from. And it's got a link to Craigslist, and it's got a link that will give you the information on this property. And you can do that with any of these. And they'll give you different information. And if it's still on Craigslist, you can click here and it'll take you to the Craigslist page. The older the lead is, the less likely the ad's going to be on Craigslist. If it's more than a few weeks old, it's not going to be on Craigslist anymore. That's why we captured all this information from the Craigslist ad, so we'd be able to keep it and maintain it. The next little icon here is for quick notes. While you're talking to them, you may want to enter some notes. And so you can enter notes as you talk, and then after you're done, you can add that note to their list, and it'll add it to the file. So now as I look down here, I can see, okay, on this date, I entered that one, and right before it I entered that and that one, and then that was when it was originally scraped. This note section actually shows me everything that's happened on this lead since it came into the system, as far as the activity list goes. This next drop-down button is if I want to blacklist this lead. Let's say this is not a pleasant person and I don't want, or maybe they just don't ever want to be contacted again. They're upset and they don't ever want to be contacted again. I can click on blacklist and it'll add them to this blacklist file. And it'll put their number in there, and I can hit blacklist and it'll add them to this file of people that will never receive another message from us again. Right now there are 68 people on here, and you can either put their phone number in, or you can put their email, or both, and it'll look for those things, and it won't contact won't contact them if they're on this blacklist. The system will just shut them down. You can also completely delete this lead if you choose to do that. I don't suggest that you delete these leads. Instead of deleting, you can archive a lead by clicking on Archive. Archive selected, and then it'll make it disappear from your view. And then if you do your searches with this archived off, it'll never come up in your searches. On the other hand, if you want to find it later, you can turn this on and it'll show the archived leads as well. This was a lot better, in my opinion, than deleting those leads. If you just don't like them and don't want to deal with them again, what I would do instead is blacklist them, so you don't have to worry about your system contacting them without your being aware of it. The next thing to look at on this page is the contact buttons. These 3 contact buttons allow you to send an email, send a text, or actually make a phone call to the lead. So if I click on this button, a window will come up that'll allow me to send an email. If I have an email on that lead already, it'll show up in this box already. I can show who it's from, which one of the team members I want to send it from, and you can determine what the email address is that it's going from by going into the team management section here, and then you can change the email addresses in team management. I can put the subject in here. I can attach a document, and the place that you find those documents is going to be in the main lead section. If you go into the main lead section, there's a place to upload attachments, and you can do that here. You can also put in a system variable and use system variables, and the variables are simply put in, merges in the lead information or the user information or the team member information. And then all this stuff can be formatted properly as well. And then you can send out that email to those people. And when you send it from this section here, it'll end up being in the quick notes after you send it. That way it keeps a record of everything that you send. Also, the text, if I send a text, I can do the same thing. Which number I want it to go out from. If I have multiple numbers to send from, I can put in the system variable, and then I can put in the rest of the text. I can send it out, and once I send it out, it will show up in the quick notes section so I can keep track of what our conversation. If I click on this button, it'll open up the phone system, and it'll start dialing this number here. I don't want to click on it specifically, otherwise it'll start dialing them. I can also call from different numbers. So if let's say I'm calling into an Indianapolis number, maybe I want to use a 317 area code. If I was calling into a 213 area code in Los Angeles, I could buy a phone number from 213, and I could actually call out from that number, depending on where I'm doing my campaigns. So if I'm doing campaigns in more than one city at a time, this can be a very handy tool to have. This search function gives you a lot of options on how to look at your leads. I can look at it based on the tags that I've created. I can look at it on the tags I want to include and the ones I want to include. So I can actually create multiple tags. I can look for multiple tags, and I can ask it to exclude certain tags as well. I can do it by the date that it was created, and I can pick a custom date, or I can pick going back in time. I can search by keyword, and it'll check the phone number and the email addresses. I can check by buyer or seller. I can check whether it's an email, voice blast, text, manually entered, or upload, or other type of source. I can check it by the campaign that they're in. I can check it by the team member that it's assigned to, and I can tell it whether or not I want to show the archived leads or not. Let's get rid of these, and I'll show you real quick. I'm pulling up just Jane's leads here, the ones that are not archived. She has one archived lead, so if I pull that up, we'll see her archived lead as well. I can also look at the ones that are unread only. So if I want to see just the ones that are unread, I can do another search, and it'll show me only the ones that have not been read. And you can tell the difference again by it's yellow if they're unread, and they're white if they're read. And you can always change the leads just like you can with an email from read or unread. The next thing on this page are you can create a new lead. So if I wanted to add somebody in manually, let's say I talked to a buyer, somebody called me on one of my signs, and I wanted to add them into the system, I could do that here. I could give them a tag. I can select their status and where they came from. Maybe I want to do different types of follow-up. I can assign it to a specific user or team member. I can assign them a specific number. If I know that I've called or talked to them on a certain line, I might want to give them a specific number. I can decide whether they're a buyer or a seller, and whether or not I want to archive it, and whether I want to put them in any of these campaigns. Once that's done, all I have to do is save the changes, and it adds them to the lead list. I can also import leads from a CSV file, so from a database, and it'll check for the types of headers that are available. So if I want to add columns, let's say I've got a first name, and I've got a last name, and I've got an email address, and I've got a column for the phone number. And I can tell it whether or not the first row is a header row. Sometimes those CSV files tell you it's first name, last name, email, phone number. If that's the case, then I'd want to put yes on there. If it doesn't have a header, then you'd leave it like this, so you'd be able to get the first name. And then I would upload the CSV file. So I'd find the file on my system, and then I'd start the upload. And then I'd confirm, and it would tell me what leads I just uploaded. and it puts them in as manually uploaded leads. One thing you can't do with this, you can't send out broadcast emails to uploaded leads. So that's something to be aware of. And the only reason we have to do that is because of our spam, potential spam issues. If we allow people to send out messages to to lists that have not been opted into, we would get shut down by our providers, and we wouldn't be able to send out email, and it would screw up everybody's email accounts. You can also export your leads. So you can tell it how many leads that you want to pull out. You can tell it how to break it down into the columns, which information you want. And this is all the information that you have that you can potentially download. So you can't download things like where they're at in a particular campaign or something like that, but you can put all your notes there. You get all the buyers, sellers, all this stuff. So you can keep track of those people and keep them safe if you feel you need to, or if you want to move them to a different system, God forbid, you can do that as well. We've already talked about the blacklist. You can add emails or phone numbers or both and blacklist them, and it'll add them to this list. You can also delete them from the blacklist. So if you delete a name from the blacklist or an email address from the blacklist, they will be able to get text blasts or emails from your system once again. The other thing on this page is your calendar, so you can keep track of all your leads. You can also merge your calendar with your Google calendar. If you're using Gmail or you use a Google software, which I do, then you can merge your calendar with this. It'll also tell you what's going on. You can view your full calendar. You can view what's happening just on this date. You can switch through the months with this as well. You can see when your next scheduled appointment is, or what the appointments are going to be on that. And this little link actually takes you to the full lead page. This has a little note that you could put in about this lead, and this was typed in about property address, and you can type anything you want, so you can look at that schedule and see what it's about. You can also reschedule it from here, and you can delete it from here or cancel it from here as well. This NA would be the name of the user or the name of the lead. And if you click on this reschedule, you'll see that this is where the notes I put in about this particular appointment were, and this was just a test. If I click on current date, see that there's no schedules, nothing on the schedule for the date. And if I look at the full calendar, I can pull up the calendar and I can see what's going on during those times. If I click on settings and then authorize Google account, it'll bring up all my Google accounts, and I can pick the one that I want to add to the calendar, and it'll populate this with that Google information. I can also add events and work within this calendar the same way that I work within my Google account. One other thing, if you're working with a smaller screen, you can get rid of this menu on the side by clicking this button, and it'll minimize it or bring it back open if you need it. So that's it for the lead dashboard page.